Well, welcome to episode 4 of the still unnamed podcast. I got some things I want to talk about tonight. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not as energetic as I normally am. I'll try my best. I really will. I'll do my best to pull my inner me out, but I knew I had to get ready, record this. And I have a lot of things I'm continually writing down I want to talk about. And today I want to talk about 3 major things. And maybe I'll touch on one thing at the end for those of you that make it all the way in. A couple things I'm going to talk about crypto. I'll be quick on that subject. I know there's some of you that hate me for my opinion on it, and there's some of you that think I'm right, and some of you don't care. Then I'm going to talk about, what else am I going to talk about? Let me look at this. Women and men, and community. Cool. So let's get into this. We'll talk about the cryptocurrency, and here this is pure 100% Brandon theory. Okay, this I don't have anything to back this up, anything to support this. I'm not making claims. I really don't believe I've ever heard this anywhere else. Not saying no one else has ever said it, but I do believe this was an original thought in my brain, and I don't usually take credit for things. Most of the shit that comes out of my mouth came from smarter people than me. But the way I look at it is, what if this? And again, I am not, don't freak out. Don't lose your mind right away. I'm not saying cryptocurrency is a psyop. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. But what if, hear me out. Even if you're super pro crypto, hear me out. What if cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these other ones that we can make a list. I think there's more cryptocurrencies than there are genders in the world today. That was a joke. Anyway, what if cryptocurrency was created by the controlling powers to be? I don't know who though they are. I'm not saying who they are. Government agencies all over the world. What if, again, hear me out. What if they were just created so that the government could frivolously print money for the coming decades? Governments all over the world could do that. They could put themselves in a position where, they're essentially devaluing their money. People, then they quietly push cryptocurrency, right? And then everyday Joe Schmoes. And when I say everyday Joe Schmoes, I'm talking about from your everyday, I make 40 grand a year guy in my job to I'm a multi-millionaire over here in the business world. Could even be worth hundreds of millions, but you're not in the group, you're not in the know. And what if they took this cryptocurrency and they said, hey, you guys should buy this. This is the future. This is the way it's going to go. This is how we're going to do things. You guys should buy this. And they collected all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars in this crypto, which the money is, I know there's people that'll listen to this, will argue with me. Again, guys, this is just pure theory, pure speculation. Don't get mad at me. Don't say, oh, the money's here, the money's there. And I've just given you an example here. People get so sensitive about this subject. Let's just say the money goes into La La Land, which is essentially where it goes. Again, I know some of you are twitching right now, but it goes into La La Land, and you have this fictitious, which our money is fictitious as well. Fiat currency is fictitious. Okay. I feel like I have to cover every single angle here that I say so that I don't get attacked. I'm going to stop doing that, because if you know who I am, you know what I stand for, you know what I'm about. It won't bother you. And if you don't, get over yourself. Anyways, it goes into La La Land. You have this fake money or currency, or, whatever you want to call it, cryptocurrency. And then they have all these hundreds of millions of dollars that people have bought this fake money, and then they wipe this cryptocurrency off the face of the earth. Gone. All that money. Hey, where'd my money go? Well, it's gone. Well, what about the money I bought it with? What about the fiat currency I used to buy it? It's gone too. Where did it go? I don't know. Right? Well, let me tell you where it might go. Again, pure speculation, pure theory. The government then uses this as a money grab to recover all that printed money they printed to dig themselves out of a hole, this hole that they've created for themselves. this danger. They've bailed out their friends. They've done all this crazy stuff. And then they stole from all the poor people. And I'm including the people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm talking about your everyday Joe Schmo who's not in the world elite or not tied in some way to the world elite that didn't get a chance to benefit from this. What if they tricked you all into doing this, and then they poof, all your money disappears, and they got to just party and go crazy printing money for 30 years. We'll call it 30 years. And then they got to recover hundreds of millions of that money by destroying the cryptocurrency that you bought with their fiat currency. But they got to, you see what I'm saying? If you don't get what I'm saying, I'm not going to explain it any further than that. They recovered hundreds of millions of fiat currency by getting you to buy into cryptocurrency, which also isn't real, and then poof, devalued cryptocurrency and wiped it off the face of the earth, thereby recovering hundreds of millions of fiat currency, which then offsets the inflation. Just a theory. What if that's what's happening? I don't know. I think it's a good theory. I'm sure a lot of you think I'm an idiot. That's okay. A lot of you probably say, I could punch holes in it. Sure, maybe you can, right? I didn't take a lot of time to think it through too much because I just don't care that much about crypto, but I know that a lot of people are about it. And like I said before, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not against, I'm not saying that cryptocurrency isn't going to be the way of the future. What I've said before is I don't believe that any of the cryptocurrencies that exist today are the way of the future. No government agency or world government, if we go there, is going to be like, oh yeah, we'll use this cryptocurrency. No, they're going to create their own digital currency. That's what they're going to do. They create their own digital currency for their nation or for the world. They're not adopting one that you're part of. You didn't win the crypto lottery, just so you know. That day is I would pretty close to bet on that. So that's my issue with crypto. My issue with crypto is that it's just not real. I know neither is our fiat money. I get it. Our fiat currency is not either. But just saying, food for thought. So I'll move on past that subject now without touching on NFTs, which is, for the record, you can try to argue with me all you want, the biggest pyramid scheme in the history of the world. Absolutely. Just a con job right there. Yeah, it is. So, I mean, I'm not saying you can't make money on it, but it's a con job. Now, I want to talk about community, and everyone loves that word, right? I'll transition away from that now to an opposite extreme of community and this agrarian like delusion almost, and I can tell, or fantasy, this agrarian delusional fantasy. I can tell you I've lived in that agrarian delusional fantasy myself a few times, because honestly, does part of me think like it would be incredible to what I know today, have the technology of the world exist as it does today, but live like almost like an old school agrarian lifestyle? Absolutely. Like, and maybe you're like, no. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Right? I'm just talking about for me. And I know that a lot of people that think similar to me in the world, that's almost become the fantasy. Is like this crazy end of the world agrarian lifestyle where you live off the land and you produce all your own food, you build all your own buildings, you create your own power, yada 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 yada. We get it, right? And it's like this incredible delusional fantasy for me and for many others that realistically it actually can work in a sense. Do I want it to happen? No. Like, I do not want it to happen. Do I want a simpler life? Yes. And that's what my wife and I are striving to, is a simpler life. And we're going in that direction, and it's happening. Our lives are more simple today than we were, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And they will be more simpler in 2 or 3 years than they are today, and so on and so forth. But do I want to, be full blown agrarian, like outside of the rules of society, not being able to partake in society because I didn't comply with certain things? No, I don't want that result to happen. I don't want that for my daughter. I don't want that for the world. But what I do know is that if for some reason we were in a position where we had to rely on community, everyone's so stressed out about money and all these other things. And this is why I think community is so important, because it's real community, and which is extremely, extremely hard to build. I know that doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean you should give up. I know there are people out there that have built incredible communities. I think the issue why it's hard to build is because there's a trust factor. For my wife and I, we built our community over the last 10 years before the world like really showed its hand in the last 2 years. Because I don't want to say before the world went crazy, because it's been crazy for a long, long time. We've been building that community before this, right? So we didn't have the desperate people. Right now, there's desperate people looking for community. They'll say and do whatever they need to get in. So like, it's hard to trust people you haven't already like built a strong relationship with and vetted them, for lack of a better term, and you've created like almost like a family like community. Fortunately for my wife and I, we have been doing that for a long, long time, and we have that. And there are people in that community, I would die for them and their kids, and they would do the same thing for us, right? And I know that, and I don't ever doubt that. And so I'm grateful for what we have. Obviously, we're always growing that, but I know that there are other people that have that as well, and I know that it's a tough thing to create. But when you do create it, when you think about it, and I was talking on the phone yesterday with someone, a lot of my listeners are probably, well, not that I have that many listeners, but most of you probably know who she is, Kristen Nagel, who's also, she's an incredible person, truly inspiring, has been to me for years. And even just her willingness, sorry, I'm going to quickly get off subject here to talk about her willingness to take the next steps along the path, where so many people have gotten caught up in this fight or this movement with really just still trying to bring attention to the issue, and not trying to bring solutions to the problem. And whereas she's just one step ahead of many people, and just incredible person. And that was actually the first time her and I got a chance to have like a one-on-one conversation. And she's just an incredible person. And if she's a friend of yours or in your life, I think you're probably grateful to have someone like that. And so, yeah, her and I got a chance to talk, and we were talking about, briefly, it came up about community and creating that. And I'm like, at the end of the day, if a monetary system didn't exist and you created a strong enough community, I'm talking in the hundreds, right? Not too big, because too big can get wonky. And I personally believe this is how humans were meant to live. No more than really probably 500 people within a community. And there were supposed to be communities spread out everywhere. Thousands and thousands and thousands of these communities instead of these mega cities, like Toronto and Vancouver, and then smaller towns like Edmonton and Calgary. And like these weren't supposed, I personally don't believe we were supposed to live that way. And that's how we have been brought in to live, because it benefits the world elite, right? It's we're cogs in the wheel. That's a whole nother subject. But if you had a small community, let's say 200-300 people, and you had certain people in the community that were the farmers, they raised the cattle and the chickens, and they had sheep and goats and blah, blah, blah. You all know, we don't need to play old McDonald up in here. And they did that. And then you had, blacksmith, bakers, mechanics, plumbers, electricians. You had these people that could do these tasks, and everybody within the community served everybody, right? So you guys served each other. It's kind of like, when you think about it, Hutterites, or for some people don't know what Hutterites are, but everyone knows who the Amish are, right? It's kind of like that, right? They work together as a community, and there's certain people that can do certain things, and then they can even build things, like they'll build small insulated cabins and sell them off, right? And that they bring money into the community. You can, when they need money to buy certain things, you can actually survive off of the community without any form of like a monetary system. You can actually function as a community. So, I mean, everyone's so freaked out about how, the inflation this and the dollar this and what's going to happen. And that's why I talked about crypto first, or what's going to happen with our fiat currency, and what's going to happen with a one world government and one world currency and crypto and this and that. Who gives a shit? Like, I mean, if you're not playing ball in the system, if you don't agree with what's gone on in the last 2 years in the world, if you're not playing ball and you don't have the things required to take part in society, like in Canada, get on an airplane, which is just a step, right? Like the next step is going to be things like getting microchips and things like, and if you won't take part in that, you can't take part in, these mega cities. And again, that's a whole nother talk. And so if you're not willing to play ball in those things, like this is where you're at. So if you're bringing attention to these things and what I'm saying is potentially a reality, and all you're doing is just keep trying to bring awareness to it and worry about the problem. This is my point. Like it's time to actually do the work. It was funny. I was watching, which actually reminded me I had to call Kristen when we spoke yesterday, because she did a live with a guy, don't know his name, because I'm terrible with names. And they talked in that live about at one point about how people love to bring attention to the problem, but people do not want to solve the problem within their life. And there's so many people out there that I really like. I enjoy. I think they're awesome people. I think they have good hearts. I think they're great people, but they're not doing the work. It's like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how popular you are. This is not a cool contest. I know I'm not the most popular guy in the block, especially among, this community. I don't know what we call people like me, truthers, freedom fighters. I don't know. Cause I mean, I say some stuff some people don't like. And I generally call it as I see it, which is not always the popular opinion. So this is not a popularity contest. Like if shit goes real wonky, how many cool points you have with the Freedom Crew doesn't matter. Like you're toast. You have to be working on things. And it's funny, a friend of mine, Eric, and some of you may know him by name, some of you may not, doesn't matter. He talks about this stuff a lot. He's a great guy on Instagram, and he talks about like doing this. And he's a perfect example. When I met him last summer, because we were, those of you who don't know, I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. We went out to Toronto area, and my wife and me and my daughter, and we were there, and I had never talked to there before. We just started talking Saturday night. We were there for the rally in July in Toronto. I think it was July 27th, something like that, give or take a day. And Eric and I had got chatting that night after rallies. He wasn't at that one. He was at one in London, Ontario. And randomly, he just invited me over as a stranger, my wife and me and my daughter, and come over to his family's home. Right. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And the cool thing is that he's, what, I like the guy. I like him for a lot of reasons, but he's a real deal. And I've got to point to my story here, guys. Is he does the things, like I was there at his house. They had food canned, they had things going on, he's a hunter, bow hunter, he does the things, garden. And now you watch him for the last little bit. He's gotten chickens now. You see it on his Instagram. Like he's doing the things. He's talking about the things. He's talking about it, bringing attention to it, but also following through. And there's a handful of people willing to do that. And that's why I really liked him. Like, this guy's for real, and he's continued to be for real. And so many of you, unfortunately, even though I like you and you're not going to like this, you're not for real. You're not. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're for real, you do the stuff. I want to ask so many right now. If all of a sudden, boom, power shut off tomorrow, whatever, you couldn't get food, you couldn't get water. Like, example, look what happened in Ontario with the power outage, that storm. How many people were screwed? How many people weren't prepared for that? But what happened if the whole country did that? All of a sudden, boom, within 72 hours, there's no food in grocery stores. There's no, like, how many of you would be fine for even a week, let alone a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? Oh, that's crazy, Brandon. That's not crazy. Everybody I consider like in my inner circle would be just fine for all those timeframes I named. So my point is that in all areas, they'd be fine, not just food and water, just in all areas. Take that for whatever you want to call it. don't just talk about it. You guys got to start doing it. Like if you're for real, you're for real. And if you create a community, if you take the time to stop talking about the problems and trying to bring more attention to it and say, hey, and then like it's kind of like the COVID one's kind of died off, which it has, but there's still this lingering mandate for vaccines in Canada for getting on planes and jobs. So there's some lingering stuff, and everyone really kind of just is so hung up on that, which should it be gone? Absolutely. It's ridiculous, but I don't talk about it much because it's going to be what it's going to be. Like we're stuck with our government for what it is, and nobody else is coming to save us. It doesn't appear. The US ain't speaking up. The rest of the world isn't coming and saying, hey, Canadian government, you got to stop this to your people. So I just complaining about it every single day. That doesn't, I don't see what the relevance is of that. Then you'll see a lot of these people are turning to other issues. They're trying to find other problems. Start building your community, because you'll be able to survive within a group if the system failed entirely. If you were no longer able to make money, you have people with skills, then you have materials, and then you can do things. It's pretty simple. It really is. So I hope you guys do that. For those of you who don't know, I am a preparedness kind of guy. I like that stuff. I talk about it a lot. I do have another Instagram channel that I've sucked really bad at ever since I went to the Dominican and got back. I haven't really been doing a lot of it, and I'll probably start doing some of that stuff. But for those of you still here, because I might have lost a lot of you, I feel like I went kind of in some circles on that stuff. And I'm sorry if this one's a boring episode. I told you guys I was lacking energy to start. I want to talk about a subject that I think is super important to me. Men and women. Like that's the subject, men and women. I know that a lot of people have beaten up the men a lot in the last 2 years, and rightfully so. Like I know I've beaten up the men. I did it a lot early on. I haven't in a long time. I know a lot of people have stayed on that bandwagon. I'll touch on it once in a while. It is frustrating. I was in Cabela's today. Weird. That's not where I buy my hunting products. I buy some other stuff there. I'm very loyal to my person I buy my hunting products from. And, but I was in there and I was happening to walk by the counter that sells, the firearms, we'll call them. And this guy, he was there, and he's older, probably in his 60s. And I was kind of listening to him. I had my daughter with me, so I was paying attention to her, but I was kind of listening to him. And I'm pretty sure he's ranting about what was going on with these, this bill being proposed. I can't remember the number of the bill. So many bills I've read about firearms and handguns and how we can no longer purchase them if the bill passes, which you will. And I'm pretty sure that's what he was complaining about. He was going off to the guy behind the counter about it. And he was talking about dates from 1936 to the 70s and about machine guns. I don't know if he was pro or against. I can't tell. I mean, I would assume if he's in Cabela's and he's at the gun counter, he's kind of pro firearm. If he's not, then the guy's a loser and he should just get the hell. Like, did he come into the Cabela store just to complain to the worker? Maybe. I don't know. But if he was pro firearm, he was sitting. I'm going to tell you guys what he's doing. He was wearing a mask. And again, whatever you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I mean, you're perpetuating the problem. So I do have a bit of a problem with it. I try to respect people's beliefs and positions. I really do, but you're perpetuating the problem. You are, like, by you continuing to wear it, you're creating this false fear, blah, 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 blah. You get my point. But he's wearing this mask. And if he's sitting there and he was complaining, I wanted to walk up and say to the guy, I wanted to actually listen to his conversation. If he was pro firearm and if I weren't with my daughter, I probably would have had a conversation. I would have walked up and interrupted him. I said, hey, sorry to interrupt, but I just got to tell you, man, you're complaining about the government intruding on our rights for firearms, but you're wearing a mask. And whether you agree or not, you're sitting here trying to have a strong opinion about firearms. Whether you agree or not, your complicity in that right here, what you're wearing on your face, right there is why they're doing these things, is because they know they got people by the short and curlies because you guys just comply. You don't fight back. You come into Cabela's and complain to this guy behind the counter who doesn't really care what you have to say. But when it comes to moments of truth, you don't actually stand up and do what needs to be done. You don't speak out. So just stop it. Okay. Like I was kind of like, and I didn't, but my whole point of this is that men are like a lot like this guy. They don't do what they need to do when they need to do it. When they're together with their friends or when they're, in an environment like that, they'll tell this tall tale about how they would do this and I do that and I tell this guy and I blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. But when the moment comes, opportunity presents itself, it's head down, pretend they don't see it, pretend, oh, it's not that bad, don't say anything. That's unfortunate, right? And again, I'm not here to beat up on the men. I mean, women, there's issues with you guys too, there's no doubt about it, but I do want to talk to the women because I know there's a lot of female people that follow me on Instagram that probably listen to this as well, and I do want to talk to you guys about this subject. You guys need to really raise your standard, because you're allowing this stuff. You're as well perpetuating. And I'm not talking to all of you. I know some of you guys are legit women of strength who have it together. So if you are, and you truly are, good for you. Good for you for being an example. I hope you're a mother. I hope you're raising little boys and girls, because we need people like you doing that. But a lot of you girls complain about men, and then you lower your standard to these clowns, right? Because you have no discipline, because you have a moment of weakness, and you'll give these weak ass men attention. You'll flirt with them. You'll go out, and now that you can go into these places because they don't require a QR code, and you can go in and have a few bevies, a couple beverages, and have a conversation with a charming young man who's clearly, based on his attire and his soft voice and his views on the world, he's clearly not really up, not the kind of guy that, he's the kind of guy you've called out and talked about weak men. But some of you guys have one too many wobbly pops, and you let your guard down and you do things with that boy, and you allow these boys permission to continue to be the way they be, because they can act however they want. And if the women, you guys hold the power. Like I always talk about that. My house, man should be the head of the household. I know maybe I pissed off a lot of women there. Man should be the head of the household, period. Men need to lead the family, and women need to allow their men to lead. It's that simple. Women are also the neck. And if you're watching this video, not just listening to it, you can see my head's turning left and right, left and right. You know what's doing it? It's the neck turning the head. So the woman has the ability to direct the head in whatever direction she sees fit a lot of times. And that's an important compromise. Like when I say I'm the head of my household, that doesn't mean my wife doesn't have an opinion. That means we have an equal opinion, but it's my job to lead my family. If I lead us into trouble, I better lead us out. I better, doesn't matter what it takes, whether it's financial trouble or whatever, I better work my ass off, fix the problem. It's that simple. That's the way it should be. And so, I don't remember how I got to that point. But my point is that a lot of times you women are not, you're giving yourself up to these weak ass men or boys, which is allowing these boys to be boys. They do not have to step up and be men because they can get what they want, because you don't have any self-control. Again, I'm not blaming you for these boys being boys. These boys are boys. I watch these girls all the time complain about boys who play video games all day long, have no ambitions, and then I meet their boyfriend, and I'm like, and they play video games. I'm like, what? Which leads me to another point that I'm on. Girls, if you're dating a guy and you hate that he plays video games and rec sports and all these other things and spends times with the boys and doesn't really pay much attention to you. Maybe you guys have a kid, and you're just dating and you have a kid because whatever. And he's like, like maybe he's a good dad, but he really kind of prioritizes himself. He does what feels right, not what is right. He doesn't prioritize the family. After work, he goes out drinking with the boys, watching the hockey game right now. The Oilers and the Avalanche are playing, and so many people are so excited about that game, and they're not excited about their own life. There's so many boys out there, and I can watch the hockey game. I don't give a shit. Don't take this out of context. You can't watch hockey. You can watch hockey. You can watch hockey all you want. My point is that is your house right? Did you get off work and the game started at 6:00 in Edmonton, and did you go straight out to the bar with your boys and your wife's at home and your 2 or 3 or kids are just sitting there like, Okay. And your wife's just at home all day, or maybe she worked all day and she's got to go home. She's got to make kids supper for the kids, clean the house. And you're going to roll in the house at 10, 11 o'clock at night and be like, honey, we did it. And you're going to act like you're on the fucking hockey team. And she's going to have to remind you, you're not on the hockey team. You didn't do shit. You know, I just, this is my point, is that if these guys don't have their life straight now, and these are guys you're dating, and you get engaged to them, and then you marry them, and then you fucking complain about the way they behave. No. You shut your mouth. I'm sorry. You just stop complaining, because you knew what that man or that boy was pre-marriage. And you thought in your head, for some weird psychotic reason, that you thought he would change, or you could change him. No. You told him it was okay when you were dating. It's only going to get worse when you get married, because what was okay when you were dating will be magnified and amplified when you get married. Just a reality. And there's probably a lot of women sitting here listening to this and like, yeah, he's right. Cause now that I think about it, you know, my husband, yeah, he did that. And yours will too. So I'm just saying, ladies, don't complain about your husband if he did the things that you don't like when you guys were dating and you decided to marry him anyway. Just, you know what? Stop nagging him. Shut up. Be a big girl and suffer through it. Suffer through it. Don't run away. Don't divorce. Don't scrub your kid's life. Eat it. You made a decision. Own it. Simple. I'm not saying you can't get divorced for other reasons. Personally, I don't believe in divorce. I'm not saying you can't, though. That's my personal beliefs. But you shouldn't be getting divorced for all the red flags that you saw before you got married. Like you don't see all these red flags, complain about them nonstop, marry the guy, have a bunch of kids, and then he doesn't change. He actually gets worse. And then you divorce and you got 3 kids in a split home. And then we want to talk about how the world's fucked up, but we don't want to take any responsibility for us causing it. Are you kidding me right now? Sorry, ladies, that falls on you. Yeah. Did you create this boy to act like this? No, but you condone the behavior. And I know there's not a lot out there anymore. I know there's not a lot of good. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I mean, trust me, my wife could get on here and give you guys a list of the shit I do wrong. It's long. But the reality is we're full of a society of boys like this because of this behavior for decades, generation after generation after generation, this tolerance, this, oh, he's just an idiot, I'll marry him and he'll be okay. Oh, he got worse, I'll divorce him. Now I'll have my kids in a split family. And that's just happened decade after decade after decade after decade. And now all these kids come from split families and all this stuff is a disaster. None of the boys know how to become men, and the women kind of tolerate it because they saw their mother do it. It's a toxic setup. So somebody needs to step up and be the example. Men need to be better fathers to teach the kids how to behave. Women's self-image comes from their father. My daughter will never crave the attention of men because I give my daughter tons of attention. She's my best friend in the whole world. And I want her to be. I've got to tell you, at her wedding, I'm going to be a friggin' absolute mess because she will no longer be my little girl. She will no longer be my responsibility. She's going to be the responsibility of another man, which is the scariest thing ever. And I want her to live in my house forever. I want her to sit on my lap forever. I want us to snuggle and at night forever. Like, and some of you may think that's gross or weird. That's probably because you didn't have a good, tight relationship with your father. And I'm sorry. But to me, like, I just want my daughter to see, I want to light her world up forever, ever. And that starts with me. But it also starts with you women as well. So my point is that you guys gotta set the standard higher. You gotta not lower that bar. You can't complain about it and then dignify it with responses, or I can't think of the term I'm using. That's not the right way of saying it, but you can't, promote it by giving into them because then they think it's okay. Again, not your fault that you did not create that, but you get to set the standard, and you guys get to say, no, sorry, I only do business with real men. And I don't care how charming these little boys are and how tight their jeans are and like how high they roll their pants and show their ankles. There's a friend of mine, if she listens to this, she'll know I'm talking about her. She'll be laughing. But I don't care about any of that stuff. Draw the line, set the standard. Don't be tempted. I just think we need to step up in that area. And men, you need to sometimes have a better standard for yourself with women as well. You guys need to, men, you need to better vet these women. You need to better understand where they're what's important to them after marriage, how you guys will raise kids. Do you believe in spanking? Do you not believe in spanking? Do you believe in God? You know, you're going to teach your kids about the Bible, how like your guys' sexual relationship, all these things, all these standards need to be set. You know, man, you should be talking about real serious shit in the first few weeks of dating. Not if you're 20. I mean, you can, but you might freak a few girls out. But guys, if you're 27, 28, 29, 30 plus years old and you're dating and you're not having real serious conversations, talking about dreams and goals, what you want out of life, don't be upset if you marry a woman without ambition, because behind every strong man is a strong woman, like a woman of strength. Behind every powerful man is a woman of strength. You're just not getting there without one. It's just reality. And so you need to set that standard as well. And don't lower your standard. Unfortunately, girls, you usually have a higher standard and a better standard. Most men are just, you know, we know what we are. And you guys just need to not lower it. But I'm pretty much going to wrap this up here. I'm going to talk about one little subject I talked about here, which was, I briefly talked about it, like the NHL, hockey, men and women getting so excited about something that literally doesn't matter. You know, you looked at the streets of Toronto in whatever friggin' year that was. The Raptors won the NBA championship, 2019, 2018, one of those two. Like, guys, imagine getting that excited about your own life just for like a couple of years, get that excited about your own life. Instead, we live vicariously through these athletes that don't know we exist, don't care. We paint our faces. We put flags all over our vehicles. Some of us paint our trucks, and we do the craziest things. Which, again, like, I get it. If you want to do that, like, cool. But I want to make sure that people understand what their priorities are. You know, these people that live for sports, and, you know, because we're trained to want to win in life. We're trained to want to win in life. And in life, after we hit a certain age, once high school sports are over, and, you know, hockey as a teenager are over, whatever you did, generally once you hit your mid-20s, you're kind of done. You're either a professional athlete, an Olympic athlete, or you're winning in some area. Like if you're an artist, you're a professional singer or something, like you're winning in that area by the time you're in your mid-20s, most likely. Sometimes people are a bit later. And if you're not winning in that area, you got to come to reality and you got to figure out how to win in life again. And most people aren't getting wins. You know, you're not getting wins in your job. You're not getting wins at home. You know, it seems like no matter how hard you work, you can't do something right. You just can't get the traction. You know, you're never good enough. People feel this way. And then they turn to antidepressants, all these other things. So people are seeking wins. And so they find it, they escape through NHL hockey, or NBA or MLB or NFL. They escape through this. Men do fantasy leagues. I have never taken part in a fantasy league, and maybe some of you have, and I'm not judging you. Again, if you have your life on track, you know, like if you're not buried in debt and your marriage is super strong, and your relationship with your kids are super strong, and you guys are really set up in life, then fantasy all you want. Paint your face, go crazy. But if your marriage is struggling, your relationship with your kids are struggling, you know more about your favorite team's stats, your favorite player's stats in the NHL, than you do know about your kid's report card or your kids' friends' names. If you're I mean, just come on. I'm talking to you then. If you're that person, pull your head out of your ass, get your shit together, step up, because the world needs you. You need to start getting excited about your own life. Shut off the hockey game for a few years. Shut off the nonsense. Shut off the noise. Focus on your own life and go and build a future for your family. Go and build something for yourself. Build a legacy that you can leave to your children. I don't know what it's going to take to get people to take action. And it goes back to exactly what I was talking about, the agrarian delusional fantasy. Take action. Stop complaining. Stop getting excited about someone else's life in the NHL, professional athletes, Major League Baseball, all these things. Start getting excited about your own life. Start knowing more about your children than you know about your favorite hockey team. Start knowing more about your wife than you know about your favorite TV series. You guys know the expression, right? Bread and circuses. And so many of you love to quote it and say it, but then it's like, you know, everything that's going on in all the Netflix series and all the Amazon Prime series and everything that's going on in all the hockey games or whatever sport is your sport. But you're sitting here, you'll openly judge people and make fun of people for being like dialed in and they're glued to the news and listening to these news broadcasts that just give fake information every day, and you'll make fun of them. And then someone like me puts a mirror in front of your face and you don't like it. Someone put a mirror in front of my face one day. I didn't like it, but guess what? I decided to change because I decided it was more important than feeling good. Because sometimes you got to do what's right, not what feels right. And I promise you in the end, you'll get the life you want. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate those of you who are still here, listened. I love to get feedback from this. If you like the show, share it with people. Really the only way you can reach me at this point, because I'm still not fully committed to this, is on Instagram. And my Instagram handle is at BRASMY. Brasmy. I don't know how you want to say it. I don't know how to say it. It's the first 3 letters of my first name, the first 3 letters of my last name, at BRASMY. That's the only way to reach me right now on here. Share some thoughts, share the episode, subscribe to whatever everyone does with the podcast. I don't know, but appreciate you for those that stuck around. Let's do it. Have a great day.